Folks, do you like free money? Well, BetUS has teamed up with Dan Talks Football, and I have the opportunity to give you free money. Get up to 125% on your first 3 deposits. Click on the link below for free money. Now, let me hit the intro music, and we'll start the show. All right, guys, I'm really excited. I don't need it, but give me one moment. I'm a little behind today. I got to get my coffee. I'm going to get some water, and I'm going to break down the NFC for you. I got a real good show. Give me 1 second. I'm behind today, but give me one moment. All right, guys, I apologize. I'm late. I'm a little behind. I don't even know why I'm drinking coffee. I'm here in Las Vegas. It's literally 300 degrees outside, but I got a treat for you. Yes, Funk, hopefully you had a wonderful 4th of July NFC night. Yes. What I am doing this year is I'm partnering up with BetUS, and Before I break down the NFC tonight, I'm going to release my first video. Ideally, I'll have it out by Tuesday. There is a chance that this will be released on Wednesday. And what it is that it's the I'm breaking down, instead of doing 32 videos of 32 teams, I'm going to do 8 detailed videos with eight divisions with the NFL. I'm going to go ahead and break them down, put a lot of detail into all of them. A lot of what I'm going to go over will be updated numbers, but these are the numbers of the NFC that I have today through BetUS. And now a lot of you don't do sports betting, and that's okay. That's okay. Funk, I understand. Yeah. You know what? It's funny. It's more of a habit. I get pretty amped up when I do the show, and I don't really need any caffeine. I really, really don't. But for whatever reason, I like to have an energy drink or coffee. It's more of a habit. I got a couple things of water because my voice will, throughout the course of the show, get a little hoarse. But it's more of a habit than anything else, but my NFC East video, I'm going to go over a lot of that information I have in this video today, and this live stream. I'm going to go over into some video. I'll go into a little more detail of the 4 NFC East teams. Hopefully that video will come out Tuesday. There is a possibility it'll come out Wednesday. The first one's always hardest. Once I get like kind of in a routine and I start knocking out the videos, it gets easier and easier. But the first one's kind of the hardest. I have to figure out how to do the format. And I meant to do that this week. I just didn't have an opportunity. So, yeah. And by the way, here in Vegas, it is literally like 120 outside. It is just insane. But yeah, I'm gonna have a cup of coffee and do the show. And I'm going to give you the numbers here. And by the way, even if you're not into sports betting, here's how sports bettors view your team. People are putting money down, significant amounts of money. And this is how they view things. So I'm going to give you kind of an idea of the way. By the way, I'm using BetUS, but whether you use BetUS or another site, the numbers are going to be pretty similar, but you always want to take a look because, for example, week 1 in the NFL, Chiefs, Ravens. By the way, that is 2 months away, less than 2 months away. Start with the NFC South. You know, I'm going east to west, so I was planning on going east, north, south, west, but yeah, that's actually not a bad idea, Funk. You know, that's actually really not a bad idea. I probably should start the NFC South. That's a great idea. Yeah, the first one's kind of the hardest one to make because I have the format. And then this year I'm doing something different. I'm just doing 8 divisional videos instead of 32 separate videos, but I'm going to try to have all the information that I would have into 32 separate videos. I'm going to just try to make a longer video, and I'll put chapters in there. That way, for example, Funk, who's a Detroit Lions fan, can skip to the Detroit Lions section when I do the NFC North. So I'm going to drink a little bit of my coffee here. And like I said, even if you don't do sports betting, a lot of this information is really going to come in handy for you. It'll give you an idea of what the general betting public is thinking. So I'm going to forgive the crudeness of the graphics I'm going to show you. I didn't have an opportunity. There were some technical difficulties. Cox Communication, which is just terrible, had an outage, deleted my information. So I had to put a lot of this together quickly. You should be able to read everything, but it is a little crude. It is a little crude. So bear with me here. If you're noticing the date, it says Thursday, February the 20th. But if you look down on the very bottom, it says all wagers have action. So you can see that. So even though that this hasn't been updated since February the 20th, you can put action on any one of these. The one that kind of sort of stands out a little bit is the Rams. If you think the Rams are going to win the NFC plus 1,400, I kind of thought, listen, I have a few. There's a pair of week 1 bets I really like. There's a pair of week 1 bets I really, really like that I'm going to put some action on. And then at the end of this live stream, I'm going to show you the 2 NFC teams that I might put some action down. Over-unders for the year, I probably won't put any action down, but I will do some weekly betting this year with BetUS. I am also 2.5 miles from Station Casino. I have the Station Casino app. I will go there, and if there's a better number at Station Casino where I can go there live versus BetUS, I like to kind of separate things a little bit and go to a casino because I plan on making a video where I actually place some live bets, and I'll have to figure out when I went there and set up the account. I didn't have my phone out, but I'll ask when I place the bet, what can I put on video, what can't I put on video. So you putting more eye on the Rams game's actually not the game. Week 1. By the way, for those of you who don't know, the Rams are playing the Lions week 1. By the way, week 1, some really, really good games, but no, I am not putting action on the Detroit Rams game. There's 2 AFC games that I'm really liking. And normally I don't do a parlay, but there is a possibility because I like both these games quite a bit. There's a tiny, maybe possibility of the smallest parlay. For those of you who know, I'm anti-parlay, but there's two week 1 games I really like. But the Rams Lions week 1. Oh, I'm not touching that game with a 10-foot pole. I have no idea what to expect, but I will say this. I'm kind of going to ruin it because, yeah. I will say this. I think the Rams are a team I really like this year. Raven 76, be more. Salute. Happy Friday. Hopefully, Raven 76, be more. Your 4th of July was awesome. We have a lot to look forward to. It's really under 2 months. I mean, technically, 7-5, 9-5, it's 2 months, but we're right there. We're right there. Ravens Chiefs, what a great game. What a great game to kick off the NFL season. One Pride 40. He's saying, what's up? One Pride, man. I'm always good. I'm always happy to see you in the chat, man. Rams would definitely have a good chance of overthrowing the Niners. I'm going to go into that because I agree completely. I think that as you see here, nothing's been updated. So this is the order that they finished in last year. And if you take a look here, one thing that stands out to me is that the Niners are at plus 250. And I can't highlight this because anyway, can't highlight it. But anyhow, the 49ers are at plus 250. The Lions, they're putting at plus 550. So there's over the double chance. But the one thing that really bothers me, though, if I was a Lions fan, is that watch it. And by the way, if I'm a Lions fan, I probably wouldn't watch that NFC Championship game again. But if you do, are the 49ers really that much better? Or is this a situation where the Lions kind of imploded? I mean, I watched that game. I watched that game again, and it really just looked like it. By the way, I'm one of the few Chiefs fans. I'll say this: I don't think the Chiefs and the Niners won those games as much as the Lions and especially the Ravens. The Ravens lost that game. The Lions just kind of imploded. The Ravens just lost that game. They like a panic mode. We're going to throw the ball. Flowers are going to make some mistakes, but One Pride, you got better on paper. That's why this is a kind of a big change. By the way, these numbers are going to be updated and changed, but as you can tell, the number that stands out to me is the Rams at plus 1,400. That's good value. I mean, the Bears at plus 1,600. Does anybody really think the Bears are close to the Rams as far as challengers? But that's interesting. Oh, man, listen, football season is going to be here right around the corner. I can't wait till preseason. There's a lot of things. By the way, a lot of Lions fans, I can't wait to see Hendon Hooker. I want to see what he does in preseason. I want to see a lot of these rookie quarterbacks. I'm actually excited. I don't think we're going to see a lot of it, but I'm excited to see Carson Wentz. As a Chiefs fan, I'm excited to see Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. Yeah. As a Lions fan, it hurts me. I think the Rams could really win week 1 retribution game. They could. They could. The Rams. So I really like what the Rams did in the draft, drafting the Zeke or Fikes, whatever it is, the 2 Florida State guys. I really think that front seven's solid, but you also get Cooper Kupp that's going to come back. Week 1, that's a game. There. By the way, I wasn't planning on doing this till later on, but the week 1, I mean, the NFL schedule is really good. But yeah, Lions going to be better. The Lions signed DJ Reader. I like the defensive backs that they said, but then you can't say you want to see Hooker during preseason in Detroit. It called every name because of the golf lobbies. Well, after all that money you guys gave golf, I actually would not want to see. I'll be honest with you, golf, Amon-Ra, and Penei Sewell should play as little as possible during preseason. I can say this: every year during preseason, I see Mahomes go out there. I'm like, get the hell off the field. I mean, I want to see Mahomes do one series, not get touched, and jog off the field. And ideally, Detroit's going to treat Goff kind of the same way where, he's just going to get in, get out. So, as Chiefs fans, I'm not sure you wanted to play the Lions in the Super Bowl. I'll be honest with you, the first half of that game, I did not, because I really was expecting a close game. And then I saw the Lions just when Jameson Williams had that touchdown, I was thinking to myself, if Williams is a part of this offense, and you also got Amon-Ra, who just been that phenomenal season. Then you also have Laporta. You got 2 running backs. No, I really didn't. But when the 49ers started coming back, and I will say this, I think that, let's say the Lions won that game. I did like Kansas City in the Super Bowl, but the first half of that game, I'm watching the Lions destroy San Francisco. I don't think anybody wanted to play against that team. So, but luckily we didn't have to deal with that. It ended up being a great Super Bowl. All year long, the Lions have struggled in the third quarter, something like minus 40 points, and we're positive in every. I didn't know that. I might have to pay attention to that if I do in-game betting this year. But yeah, it was really weird. I blasted the Lions a little bit instead of running the ball with David Montgomery. You gave it Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs had that fumble. I think it was 2 or 3 plays later, 49ers scored a touchdown, and I was like, ugh. Yeah. I imagine Lions. Oh God, that would be. I've always been a Justin Simmons fan. I love the fact that Denver got rid of him. I have no idea why he hasn't been signed yet. That's a big free agent that I would tell you the truth. I would not even mind him in Kansas City, even though the Chiefs are kind of set at safety. But that's a player that would be a big win for the Lions. So I expect him to still play a little nickel corner, but I'm kind of excited to see what the Lions are going to do. You got a couple rookie defensive backs. You should see a lot of them in preseason. By the way, I'll just throw this out there: the 81 49ers, the team that won the first of the 49ers 4 Super Bowls in the 80s. They drafted a pair of defensive backs in the first 2 rounds. One was Ronnie Lott. The second one was Eric Wright. Eric Wright had a good career. Of course, Lott moved later in his career to safety, where he was one of the greatest of all time. But he was a Pro Bowl corner his first couple seasons. And that year, they won Super Bowl. So there is precedent there where, you draft corners in the first 2 rounds of the draft, you start them immediately, and you go to a Super Bowl. So, so if you're a Lions fan, you should be really, really excited. I would be slightly miffed that, plus 550 when the Niners are plus 250. But then again, this was February 20th. It's not been updated. And if you look at the bottom here, all wagers have action. So you can place some money on that. Coaching costs the Lions. I understand what Dan Campbell was doing. I mean, he kind of did the same thing he did all year. He was overly aggressive, played with a chip on his shoulder, and I like that type of play when you're an underdog. I don't like it when you're favored, and I also don't like it when you're up. I honestly, the implosion was a lot of this coaching, but hopefully they can overcome things. I mean, one of the things I said that as soon as that game was over, it's like, well, the Lions are going to lose players, and they didn't. And I said, there's no way they're going to sign Amon-Ra and they're going to sign Penei Sewell. I said, no way it's going to happen. Well, then they do. And then I turned around and I said, well, there's no way they sign Goff. Well, then they do. And I don't know how they did it. Great job by the front office by doing that, which was really surprising because I thought you could do one or the other. And I said, here's what you do. You sign Amon-Ra, you play hardball with Sewell. No, they got them both. And I said, well, you can't do you can't do golf now, so now you got a problem at quarterback. That's no good. Well, they fixed that. So I understood what he was doing. I just felt like he was making mistakes. I thought he should have adapted a little more, but we'll see. Gibbs fumble and then the fourth down drop. Yeah. The fumble was big because I really felt that you should have had Montgomery. And by the way, week one, what did you do when you're trying to run the game, clock out against the Chiefs? You get the ball to Montgomery. Now, keep in mind, week one is a lot different for a rookie than technically it's week, 20 or 21 in the NFC Championship game. So he's no longer a rookie, but when you're up, give it to the bigger veteran running back. That was my thought process. But that fumble, that was really kind of the turning point. That after that fumble, everything just kind of went the Niners' way. It was a lot of weirdness. And by the way, I mean, the 49ers have a really good team. Let's be very clear. That's a very, very good football team. But on paper, they got significantly worse. Where the Lions definitely got better on paper. So, yeah, the AI catch. Apparently, that's still, it's weird. Pride, they're going to play a lot of single high. So Branch will play in a slot. That's what I expect. It's exactly what I expect. And I can't wait for that game. It'll be a fun game to watch, Rams and Lions. I can't wait for that game. It's going to be a fun one. And we'll see what happens because I could see Stafford going after some rookie corners. I mean, yeah. I like Dan Campbell. Yeah, he was. He was. Terrion and Branch chemistry is going to be, it better be, if it is, you have some improvement on the front seven. You get BJ Reader. All right, I'm 22 minutes into the show and I already had a name for you. Kid from Iowa, inside linebacker. I'm so sorry, Lions fans. I know better. I'm so sorry. I'm just drawing a blank. But, I mean, he's a rookie. Didn't start. He'll be the starter day one at inside linebacker. That's a key position. So your front seven's going to be better. So if your back end is better and in the offense, honestly, the offense can take a dip. But Jack Campbell, thanks. I'm so sorry. I couldn't remember that name. This is why you always call her baby. This is why you always call your girl baby. Do not forget her name. Or even worse, don't call her the wrong name. I've done that before. But if it is special, the NFC better watch out. Dan, go watch a handoff to Gibbs, the ball like it's being said on. No, I'm blaming Gibbs, but if I go back, I'm going to believe you, Funk. By the way, if you're new to this show, you're wondering why I'm just going to defer to Funk because Funk's been here for a while, and I will. By the way, I haven't. But yeah, I can go watch it, but I'll take your word for it. I still feel that if you had the veteran running back in there, so yes, it does count. I like being called daddy, but yeah. I don't know if we should go down that road, but always call her baby. That's just good. And like I said, Funk, I'll take your word for it. But I still wish that Montgomery, the bigger running back, the veteran running back, was in that situation. That was, kind of a situation where you even if you have to punt, you want to eat up some of the clock. But it would have been fun. I mean, it would have been a lot of fun. Chiefs Lions. I think Chiefs fans. I know me personally. I wanted revenge. I was mad. I lost a couple $100 on that week one game. And I was really mad about that. So, but I'll be honest though, the first half of the game, I'm like, holy shit, God, I don't want to see this. So. You never know, man. I've been hearing a lot of Matt Judon rumors lately, but he'll come back to. I've been saying this for a while. The Patriots are my sleeper AFC team because that defense looks awesome. That defense could be just freaking awesome. And then, so the defense could be awesome. Here's the deal. What if the offense is just middle of the pack? I mean, last year they were just awful. If the Patriots just have a middle of the pack offense and that defense is top 5, that could be a playoff team. Keaton, who from Keaton Talk Sports, is a big Patriots fan, and he's low key excited about this season. You know, I mean, of course, this is in the dynasty, in the making for this year, but they're building something really, really good. But well, we'll see, because if you do get Judon, you will have to give up something. But he was a defensive player of the year candidate, even though the Patriots weren't doing good. His game was really good. Him opposite of Hutchinson would be a lot of fun. Yeah, and he didn't start, so you know, you get a guy who, as a rookie, you saw flashes. This year, I think he'll be. I think he's going to be a pretty good player. I know a lot of you guys were comparing him to Urlacher. I don't see that at all, but you get a guy who I think is going to be an above average inside linebacker. And another thing I like about him is I like his size. So you're going to, one of the things that if you go back and you watch that game, the 49ers are able to run the ball on the Lions, so you improve the defensive line. You got Jack Campbell's going to really solidify against the run. And what you want to do is that when you have an offense, what you guys score last year? I think it was 29 points. I'm doing this off the top of my head, but I think you were scoring 29.9 points a game last year. So you get an offense, let's just call it 30. So you're scoring 30 points a game. What do you want to do to stop a high-powered offense? Usually you want to play ball control. Keep golfing that offense off the field. I mean, that was how you beat the Colts under Peyton Manning. You know, what you wanted to do was just run the ball, play ball control. Well, if you eliminate that, then you get in a shootout, right? Well, that's kind of what you want to do if you're the Detroit Lions, is get into some shootouts, because you have a really good offense. Plus, now you have some playmakers in the secondary. So the way the Detroit Lions are being built right now, it's pretty scary. And I would find this a little insulting, this plus 550, but I'm gonna get into this a little more here. This is my favorite part of the show, and what I like most is that I like getting questions and comments and responding to them more than the pre-registered comments that, or the pre-registered content I had getting. To tell you the truth, every single show, I would love to just flip on my camera and just rant on comments, but I always like to plan something just to have that content ready to go. Drops on third down by St. Brown and Reynolds, and a hospital ball to Laporta on third down. No, there's a lot of things that went wrong that game. And the thing is, though, the first half of that game, remember the Jameson Williams touchdown? And then if you go to the box score, I think he had maybe one other touch the whole game. He had that 42 end around. It was a 42-yard, I think it was an end around. And I'm like, oh my God. And then you got Laporta, and then you got Amon-Ra, and I was just like, oh my God. And they're just stifling this offense, which was a really good offense. Yeah, you're right. And that's the thing, is that I've said this over and over again. The Ravens lost the AFC Championship game. The Lions just kind of imploded. Same thing, basically, just different ways. The Ravens, it seemed like they were trying to lose the game. Like, hey, we run the ball well. Great, let's throw the ball all the time against a really good defense. I mean, the two teams that led the NFL in sacks, they were 1 and 2. As Ravens were 1, Chiefs were 2. And what the Chiefs did is they wisely played ball control, ran the ball. I mean, they Ravens did a great job holding the Chiefs 17 points. But for some reason or another, they just abandoned what they do well on offense. And then I can point to Zay Flowers, who I think really cost the Ravens that game. But with the Lions, it was just like a complete implosion. It was just goofy mistakes, drops, fumbles, not stuff in the run. Which let's be fair, the Lions defense wasn't great last year, but they should have done a better job stopping the run. You guys said that all summer long. You guys told me that they were going to lose that game. I didn't believe you. I didn't believe you. I really didn't. Yeah. All streaks do come to an end. Yeah. And it really ticked me off. I held a grudge. I'm still mad, but yeah. Dan, if you're on date 2 women, just make sure they're the same. Baby counts. Baby counts. Always call your girl baby. Always call your girl baby. I never compared him to Urlacher. I was hoping to be Tuluch. There were some Lions fans that called him Urlacher. And I just don't see that type of game. I think he's a really solid player. I think he's a solid guy. I think he's a guy that you can almost pencil in for 125, 3-3, and 125 tackles, 3 interceptions, 3 sacks. I don't think he's going to do anything exceptional. I don't think he's going to be a type of guy. I know some people are trying to tell me he's a sideline to sideline type of guy. I never really saw that, but he's a bigger physical guy that compared him to that can do a lot of things. Luke Kuechly, I wouldn't compare him to Luke Kuechly. You know, it's funny though. I remember Kuechly coming out of Boston College. I remember thinking, ooh, Carolina's not going to, oh God. And then you can make a case that Kuechly, you can make a case for Kuechly and Patrick Willis being 2 of the greatest middle linebackers of all time. But yeah. But comparing him to Urlacher or Luke Kuechly, I don't see that type of game in him, but I think you're going to get an above average starter who should be there for the next 10 to 12 years. And he's a very physical guy and he's a big dude. So when you have a high powered offense, you want a defense that can stop the run. And that's one thing you didn't have last year. From the changes that you made in the offseason, it looks like you're trying to do that. And let's see, proof's going to be in the pudding. But I fully expect the Lions to be better against the run. You got some young pieces in the secondary. Like I said, if you're a fan of NFL history like I am, you go back to 81 where the 49ers drafted a pair of defensive backs in Ronnie Lott in round 1 and Eric Wright in round 2, and they won the Super Bowl that year. So comparing Terrion Arnold to Ronnie Lott, I know is a little extreme, but safety, corner. I mean, Lott played his first, I think it was 5 or 6 years as a corner, went to several Pro Bowls, and then when his play started to deteriorate, the Niners wisely moved him to safety. And when I talk about the greatest corners of all time, I'll never say Ronnie Lott. You talk about one of the greatest safeties who ever lived, then Ronnie Lott always is in that conversation. If you told me Ronnie Lott's the greatest safety of all time, I wouldn't definitively tell you no. There's a few other guys I might put above Lott, but not a lot. I mean, I would probably put as pure safeties maybe Ed Reed or Palomu maybe above Lott. And I have to do a lot of thinking about that. But the only reason I might put those two guys above Lott is the time that they played at safety. Both played longer than Lott. But I mean, tell me Lott's greatest safety of all time. I'm not telling you, no, you're wrong. I'm not saying that. Chris Jones said, "Oh, dude, you were, you really were. Best team in the NFL was the Ravens last year, and there's no doubt about that. Clowney had his best season in the last couple of years in Cleveland. One of the biggest issues was he didn't want to stop the run. I never saw that in Baltimore out of Clowney. I never saw Clowney shying away from stuff in the run." And that was one thing that Clowney had issues with. But the rest of your team, I mean, the best inside linebacker duo, Matabuke, I'm butchering that name, I know, played like an absolute monster. I swear there was 3 Kyle Hamiltons everywhere. I mean, that dude was just fucking everywhere. And it was just ridiculous. I mean, he was breaking up passes downfield. He was safety blitzing. I mean, the dude seemed to be everywhere. I went through the box score. Raquan Smith quietly had, I think it was 18 tackles, maybe 16 tackles. Patrick Queen, guy that you guys are going to miss. Yeah, you had the best team. You also lost a lot. You lost several starters on the defensive side of the ball. I also think that it's hard because Zay Flowers is the future, not Odell, or OBJ. Let's call him OBJ. But but when Odell Beckham took over, the offense looked a lot better. But why the fuck did you stop running? And by the way, not both are running backs, but one of your running backs is J.K. Dobbins, of course, could never stay healthy, but both him and Gus Edwards are now in L.A. with the other Harbaugh, which is interesting. But, yeah. Oh, this is great. Dan, in your opinion, who is the hardest hitting safety? I got Steve Atwater. That's a good one. That's a good one, man. Oh, God, hardest hitting safety. God, I love these questions. I'm not saying he's the hardest, but God, there's a guy in the 80s by the name of David Fulcher. Played for the Bengals. He was like 230, 240. He was intimidating. Joey Browner was a tough one. Ronnie Lott. Steve Atwater's a really good one. Dawkins is a good one. John Lynch is another one, doing a great job as a GM for the 49ers. Lynch was a guy who just knocked the snot out of you. But Dawkins, all of that. Dawkins is a good one. Palomalu, who we talked about earlier, that's a good one. Donnie Shell, I would take Palomalu over Shell, but Shell, they're trying to get him nominated for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He was a good hitter. That is a good one. I was going to say Kenny Easley, but Benny Blades, that guy was a stud. I loved Benny Blades. What about Jack Tatum? I can throw out the Assassin. I mean, if your nickname's the Assassin, Dr. Death, Dr. Death, by the way, is a great nickname too, but the Assassin, that's a good one. Most of his hits would be illegal now. You're not going wrong with Atwater. Oh yeah. Of course I watched that game. Slasher. Not only Slasher joined the show, he's coming in strong. Sean Taylor. I'm going to tell you something about Sean Taylor. At the University of Miami, he should have won the Heisman Trophy. Those of you who don't remember, it was always in the middle of the season. Florida State versus Miami was must-see TV. The winner had a chance for the national championship, in this case, the University of Miami, and they did win the national championship that year. And Florida State had combined 15 to 20 guys that were going to be first-round picks. I mean, this was must-see. You can't relate to it today. You could kind of sort of say Alabama, Georgia, but it was just bigger with Florida State and Miami. I'll never forget this. Florida State, the receiver, I think his last name, I'm not making this up, I think his last name was Fagg, Fagg, and he was a big, tall receiver. I remember he tore his ACL at the combine, just destroyed his career. He wasn't going to go in the first round, probably somewhere between rounds 2 and 5. Really, really good player. I remember he ran a corner route. Sean Taylor just knocked the snot out of him. And then the next play, they ran a slant, and the receiver alligator armed it. The third play, they ran a slant or an in, and the receiver stopped. Sean Taylor picked it off and scored a touchdown, got a pick 6. He killed the receiver almost. Then he completely broke up a play just by being in the vicinity. Then he takes that same inside route. Why he kept on throwing the ball inside when Sean Taylor single-handedly won that Florida State Miami game. And I said I thought that he should have won the Heisman Trophy. Giving it to a guy who just played safety. Now Woodson played offense and defense, also played corner. So it's a different night and day situation. Sean Taylor may have been the best pure safety I've ever seen on the college level. And by the way, he looked like he was having a great pro career. Slasher just coming in strong. Ed Reed was not really a hitter, but I would put, if you told me Ed Reed's the greatest safety of all time, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Another Miami defensive back. Oh my God, what Cam Chancellor, yes. That's a good one. Cam Chancellor. Oh God, I can't believe I left his name off. Yeah. I seriously, if you were to tell me the greatest safety of all time was Ed Reed, I can't, I'd say the same thing about Ronnie Lott. I would say the same thing about Ed Reed. Paul Krause, not a headhunter type, but 81 interceptions. That mean never be touched. Great safety of all time, but I wouldn't. Ed Reed was a hitter. I mean, he could hit you. Don't get me wrong, but he wasn't that. Bernard Pollard, former Chief. And by the way, I loved Bernard Pollard. I actually met him in person. It was funny. I worked at a place called Champs. It's a part of Foot Locker. And it was Derek Johnson. Derek Johnson came in. He had this like smoke show of a wife. Derek Johnson played linebacker for the Chiefs. The next day, Bernard Pollard came in, and Bernard Pollard was bigger than Derek Johnson. That's the thing. He was like 3 inches shorter, but he looked like he was like 20 pounds heavier. I loved Bernard Pollard, one of my all-time favorite players. One-time favorite players. Yeah, you're right. He was going to be a Hall of Fame player. I just saw something. His daughter is now playing at the University of Miami. Yeah. Oh, we said Palomalo. I said Polamalu. I said Troy Polamalu. Yeah. Troy Polamalu, one of the hardest hitters in football. Yeah. I'm trying to think here. Polamalu, off the top of my head, Lott, Atwater, Polamalu. David Fulcher was just massive. Joey Browner was a good one. Kenny Easley, Jack Tatum. I'm just hitters. I'm not. I wouldn't call Pat Tillman a hitter, but he would have been a really good safety. His story's phenomenal. Oh yeah. The Derek Stingley issue. Oh God, that was just ridiculous. Yeah. I was told that a lot of people complained because he never apologized for it, and they asked him about it. He said, "I didn't see a reason." So. You're right about this, but he was playing pretty well. You think as though his play was pretty good. His story's better. He was a walk-on to Arizona State, ended up being Pac-10. It was Pac-10 at the time, Defense Player of the Year, and his play was getting better when he left. Like it was getting better and better. It's hard to say how good he would have been. It's really hard. Ed Reed is going. Yeah, if you had, so Watt's more of a strong safety. Oh God, Alvin Walton! What a great God! I love. Yes, Alvin Walton. Wow. Oh God, I love these. I love these references. Alvin Walton is not even the name I can say. I'll throw out another one. Scott Case. Most of you have no idea who he is. Played for the Falcons. Played for the Falcons. Tiny white dude, just massive hitter. Massive hitter. Was part of the Dion years there, and if I remember right, I think Scott Case also played baseball. I could be wrong about that, but the thing with Tillman is he was a good player. He was an ascending player. I remember, I'll never forget, Simeon Rice went on. I think it was the Jim Rome show, and they were talking about Pat Tillman, and somebody called Pat Tillman a great player, and he corrected him, and people just blasted him, but he was right. He was right. Oh God, Alvin Walton. Oh God, what a great reference. Scott Case is another one you probably never heard of. Probably never heard of David Fulcher either. David Fulcher was massive. He was massive. Trying to think of like guys you may have never heard of. Scott Case was one. There was a dude for the Oilers. I remember they called him the Unguided Missile. Bo Orlando, small white dude, and I remember he ran into Okoye, like bounced off Okoye, and then was like, I remember my buddy was like, "Where's that unguided missile now?" But he was a pretty good hitter for like a couple of years. But yeah. I'd say, but Louis DeMoss, a hard-hitting safety dude, is an unguided missile. He just wasn't that great. Name sounds familiar. I'm just drawing a blank. You remember Fulcher? Fulcher was, dude, David Fulcher was a dude who was like in the 80s. He was like 230, 240, played safety. He was just enormous. I think they ended up switching him the linebacker later in his career, but really just massive. Had a few good years. Oh yeah, Night Train Lane corner. They don't make corners like Night Train. They'll never make another corner like Night Train Lane. For those of you that don't know, Night Train Lane worked in a factory. You could actually walk on the NFL teams. Walked on, played receiver in college. He was working at a factory. Walked on to the Lions as a defensive back. Became one of the greatest defensive players of all time. Rookie season, 12-game season, 14 interceptions, still an NFL record. Ended up dating. It was somebody very famous. I want to say, I without looking it up, it was somebody really famous, like somebody you'd recognize. I want to say it was somebody like Diana Ross or something. He ended up. Here's a dude who worked at a factory and ended up a few years later, like married to a famous Motown singer. I want to say it was Diana Ross, but I know that's not right. Somebody that if you said her name, like you would know who it is. And the thing is just he played receiver in college. He is the prototype. And by the way, and if you listen to the Round Six podcast, I'm not affiliated with them, but Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks, we're going to do a lot more draft stuff this year. Diana Washington, yes, thank you. Yeah, she was a jazz singer. So here's some dude who works in a factory, becomes one of the greatest football players of all time, and marries a jazz singer. Yes, she was famous. Yeah. I'm drawing a blank now on Diana Washington, like what she sang, but yeah. But yeah, most feared linebackers. Oh God. Butkus probably number one. Lewis Nitsky, Ray Nitsky, just scary looking motherfucker. Jack Lambert, a lot of people don't know this. Jack Lambert was like 6'5". He was only like 215, but like he wore these massive shoulder pads that made him look bigger. One of the things Lambert says, he knew that a lot of players on the Steelers were taking steroids, and he said he really considered it, but he ultimately didn't do it. By the way, that's what killed Mike Webster. He's 47. I never saw that movie. I know it's petty, but I refuse to watch anything with Will Smith's in. So I'm not going to watch it. I know it's petty. I don't watch anything Robin Williams is in. I don't watch anything that Will Smith's in. So I'll never watch that concussion movie. It may change my mind because Will Smith does a cameo in Jersey Girl, and I love that movie. And I was watching clips of it, but yeah, there's a guy who played for the Chiefs, the first black inside linebacker, Willie Lanier. Watch him. Watch him. Teams feared that dude, and it was funny because you ever hear him talk, he was easily the smartest guy in the room. Almost every room he walked into, he probably could have gone into politics. But Willie Lanier in the '60s was 6'3", 240. Like he was bigger than a lot of offensive linemen, but he was a quiet, soft-spoken, super intelligent dude. But oh God, I would put Butkus at 1. I want to say Ray Lewis at 2, but Jack Lambert, I mean, Lambert was a scary dude. Lambert was also, a lot of people don't realize how super, super smart he was. Really bright dude, even though he was like toothless and mean as hell, but one of the smartest dudes ever. Singletary was feared. Singletary was a feared dude. Singletary was a feared guy. Oh, yeah, he is a big reason why they have 4 Super Bowls. He was captain of defense. He set everybody up. By the way, Ray Nitschke, I would put him high on that list. Ray Nitschke was a scary fucker. Ray Nitschke was a scary fucker. Guy who knocked out, his nickname was Concrete Charlie, played safety and middle linebackers. The clip of him, or he's standing above, he knocked him out. He's hosted Monday Night Football. Frank Gifford. There's a clip of him. It was on Time Magazine. He knocks Gifford out, and he's standing above him after he gave him a concussion, knocked him out for a whole year. And then Gifford went from running back, I think, to receiver. But I remember his nickname was Concrete Charlie, but he was a scary fucker too. Ray Lewis is on that list. Oh, Jeff Fuller of the Niners. Yes, I forgot about Fuller. Nitzke's very high on my list. If you're talking about just scary linebackers, just most feared linebackers, I would say number 1 would be Butkus. I would probably put Lewis at 2. Oh God, Lewis or Lambert at 2. That's a tough one. Nitschke makes the top 5. Singletary's on that list. God, just feared linebackers. Urlacher, not known, but like Urlacher was a dude who was just so big and fast that he was scary. Junior Seau, when he was a Charger, was a mean, intimidating motherfucker. Breaks my heart what happened. Joey Porter, another one. Greg Lloyd, both those guys. Urlacher was so big and so fast. But I mean, people really weren't like Urlacher was the type of dude that was scary, but not for the same reasons. Yeah, Bill Romanowski. Yes, he was a dirty dude. It was funny. I remember him on Hard Knocks, and he was talking like he was almost 40, and he's like he was eating fruit, and he says, "I see guys eating McDonald's." And Urlacher was a safety and a punter. Oh, Sean Merriman. Yes. I'm going to tell you something. If Sean Merriman stayed healthy, he would be one of the top 10 defensive players of all time. I mean, the dude was just flat out crazy good. He wore 56. It was such a short period of time that, it was just, I think it was 2 years, but Sean Merriman was the closest thing I've seen to Lawrence Taylor for like a 2-year stretch. I remember he had it was a 16-game season. There was he had a 4-game, I think it was steroids or something. It was PED, performance enhancing drugs. In those 12 games, he had 17 and a half sacks. And he was just a monster against the run. I swear Sean Merriman was the closest thing I've seen to Lawrence Taylor. I was just like, oh my God. And it was like a 2-year period, just couldn't. Yeah. Romanowski was a dirty dude, played forever, had a super strict diet. I super respect that. Because he just watched, he spit in T.O.'s face. I mean, he was a crazy fucker. Fontes Burset. He was a dirty fucker, yeah. I always liked Burset, something like that. But it's actually funny. I remember there's rumors that he may come back to Kansas City, played defensive end, but Frank Clark, I remember before he came to Kansas City, the Chiefs played the Seahawks, and he choked. I watched him. He got away with it, but I remember him putting his hand around a Chiefs player's neck and choking him. And I remember we need that on the Chiefs. And then when the Chiefs got him, they gave up way too much to get him. They overpaid him financially and in draft capital. But I was like, he's gonna win us a Super Bowl because we really needed that. And there's talk about Frank Clark coming back to Kansas City, Yeah. Brissett was a dirty. Oh God, no, dude. Sue, Dominican Sue. That was a feared fucker. And I heard also, you guys would have to tell me. I heard stories that they would. I forget which coaching staff it was, would put all these penalties and emphasis on showing up late, and Sue would purposely show up late just because he could. And he just did it to be and I heard that it was just, he was so difficult. I didn't hear this about any other place he went to other than Detroit. But Sue was a feared dude. The game, if you want to see impressive play, watch the Big 12 championship game where Sue almost single-handedly wins. They lose that game to Texas. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's just Brian Cushing. He was a feared dude as well. Sue was, and you guys have to tell me because there's all sorts of stories about him just causing all sorts of problems, but he was a feared fucker. Watch that game. He had 4.5 sacks. I think he blocked a field goal. It was just crazy. And that's part of the reason he ended up being the second pick in the draft, just that game alone. Brissett was decent. Romanowski was a really good player. Brissett had 1 or 2 years. His story is interesting because he was packed 10 player of the year, Pac-10, I think it's Pac-12 player of the year for Arizona State. He was a walk on Arizona State, won defense player of the year, got kicked off the team, had a terrible, terrible combine, went undrafted, and it was like barely through training camp. And I remember it was drawing a blank on the coach's name. He was defensive coordinator in Baltimore for the 2000 season, longtime coach of the Bengals, just drawing a blank on the guy's name. Just like promoted him to starter, like training camp. And he played pretty good for a couple of years, but Romanowski is honestly, if Romanowski wasn't such a dirty player, he would get Hall of Fame consideration. Doesn't belong in the Hall, but he would get consideration. Nobody's going to consider him though. Yeah, he did. You know what? It's really funny because I know you don't watch it anymore, but he was on Fresh and Fit, and he even acted weird on Fresh and Fit. Like it was just he filed for bankruptcy recently. It's such a shame because they're actually talking about it on the drawing a blank on the show, but Max Crosby has a YouTube channel. It's just phenomenal. And he talks about Antonio Brown, and he goes, Antonio Brown, like when he was there, he was awesome. And then he'd leave the building and it's like he would morph into somebody different. And they talk about it. He goes, yeah, Antonio Brown, like when he was in training camp and when we were in the locker room together, he's this great dude. And as soon as he left the building, he would just morph into a different person. And yeah, Schwartz did pick favorites. That's the thing. He had like 4.5 sacks. Okay, now why? If you ever want to have some fun, watch that game because people swear up and down it was rigged. So Texas, who was undefeated, would advance to the national championship, where Nebraska was 8-4 that year. But Sue had like 4.5 sacks, blocked field goal. He was just Sue was really good, folks. And you're talking about Brian Cushing, who, by the way, looks like he could still play. He had some CTE issues. That's why he retired. But like I saw him recently. I don't know if he's into coaching or what it was. He looks like he could still play. I remember when they did Hard Knocks and he interviewed his wife. You know, of course, all NFL players have hot wives, but he had this tiny little wife, and she's like, I don't understand, like, when I watch him, it's just a different dude. But yeah, I liked Brian Cushing was a good dude. Who is better, Sue or Vince Wilfork? I would say Sue, but it's like one thing about Wilfork is that he was a really good player, but the only thing he really needed to do was stuff to run, and he did that really well for the Patriots and for the Houston Texans. But Sue is one of those guys who I know it's going to piss some people off, but Sue this is going to piss some people off. Sue reminds me a lot. This goes out crazy. A lot of Reggie White. He was a 300, 305, 310, whatever, but he could be a 4-3 defensive end. But he had the size to be a 3-4 defensive end, which he played a lot of. He's really good 5 technique. And that's what Reggie White did originally. And then they moved him to defensive end. He's one of those guys that had the size to be a 5 technique, but he could play defensive end in your 4-3 scheme. I mean, you know, he's the type of guy you can move him inside. He could play defensive tackle. You could even put him in a wide 9 defense, and he could play defensive end. He was just phenomenal. It just that he was on some bad teams, kind of mismanaged. I think a lot of it was also I heard a lot of stories. He was just a problem. Like he didn't want to show up for camp. You know, he didn't want to show up on time. I only heard this in Detroit. I heard at other places he was just great. But yeah, Sue's one of those guys. Like I said, you watch that Nebraska versus Texas game, you'll never see a better player. Never see a better player. Oh God, I run on a rant. So people were terrified about Wilfork, but the thing is that Vince Wilfork was one of the most, like, off the field, he was like one of the nicest guys, got along with everybody, did a lot of charitable work. Sue, everybody was scared of Sue, even his own team. He was scary funny. He was a scary dude. Yeah, Wilfork in the run game, yeah. But Sue was very good against the run. Sue did get Donald his. I forgot about that. Huh. Yeah, Vita would be a better comparison. But Vita would be a lot better than Vince Wilfork. But Sue is one of those guys. I think in a different situation, we could be talking about Sue as one of the greatest defensive linemen of all time, and he still could be in Canton one day. Sue still has a chance for Canton. That's interesting. Lions fans aren't higher on Sue, but yeah. Oh, God. Oh, that would be ridiculous. Sue and Donald together in a prime. Ridiculous. Haloti Ngata. Oh, God. That is one of my all-time favorite players, Haloti Ngata. So the Lions have a guy that they drafted out of Western Kentucky, and I'm drawing a complete blank on his name, but he has a similar skill set to Haloti Ngata. Similar. Really, really, really good player. Really, really, really. Haloti Ngata, really. He's one of those guys that should be in Canton, but he may not get the recognition enough to go to Canton. But Haloti Ngata, I think Hall of Fame player. Really, really good player. Oh my God. So, here's the thing. It used to be that your icon was pink and now you switched it to green. But guess who we got in the chat, folks? It's the B and the Backtalk brothers. The great one. The talent. Gooch. Well. There's a lot of knowledge on this chat. Time to add the talent. Yes. Gooch, I was hoping you would join me last week, but before the season starts, I'm please come on. Please come on. I know your schedule's difficult, but yes. Saragusa. Oh God, I remember Saragusa in the AFC Championship game. Saragusa landed on Gannon, who won MVP that year, and knocked him out of the game. Like it was early in the first quarter, and you knew the game was over. So yeah, you did. Nada, I think belongs in the Hall of Fame, but I heard that. Yeah, I think if Sue in Detroit worked out better, you could be looking at Sue had the ability to be one of the 10 best defensive players in. He was so good, man. He was so good. Next, I hopefully that's not as painful if it sounds fun. I loved Haloti Ngata. Yeah, he did. Sounds like about it that don't want to. I'm totally biased. Say Fletcher Cox was better than Sue. You're not wrong. Sue had so much more talent, but no, Fletcher Cox probably had a better career. No. I'm getting warmer, maybe a little 1-9. All right. Broderick Martin, yes. Broderick Martin, that's the guy I was trying to think of. But yes. Broderick Martin has a Haloti Ngata type talent. So it's funny because I think Cox did have a better career than Sue. Sue had so much more talent. Seriously, I think you could, if Sue was in the right situation, he could have had the same, like, really close type of impact to Reggie White. I never met a dude there. I mean, Reggie White's the guy that I would say Sue could have been, but this is interesting. Sue is better than Cox. It's silly if y'all think I think Cox had a better career, to be honest with you. That's a tough one, man. Yeah, I mean, Broderick Martin, I think he has the potential, because I remember Dontari Poe, and it's funny because the Chiefs passed on Fletcher Cox to take Dontari Poe. And for a couple of years, Dontari Poe played a lot like Haloti Ngata, because what he did is he played nose tackle in your standard 3-4, and then he moved him out to a 5 technique on third down, which doesn't sound like a lot, but he played like it was almost 90% of snaps, but he was like 346, and he rushed the passer. And so what you had to do is you had to double team the 346-pound dude, and that led Justin Houston to a 22-sack season. So, greatest comeback of all time, Bills versus Oilers in the 93 AFC Championship game, the day Frank Wright became famous, LOL. Greatest comeback of all time, that it was divisional round. You know, pretty sure it was 92, and I think it was 92 divisional round, because I remember the Oilers in 93 lost to the Chiefs. But I think the year was 93, the season was 92. But that Oilers team was so good. That Oilers team was so good, man. Dan, why that logic? Golf is better than Mahomes. I mean, his numbers were better last year, so he must be better than Wright. Keep in mind how things. I think career-wise, I could argue Fletcher Cox had a better career. I'll be honest, Funk. I would say just who had a better career, Sue or Cox? I'm going to tell you Cox. Who had more talent, Sue? That's a tough one, though. Sue had more talent. Let's be clear. I think here's the deal. Cox is probably going into Canton. I don't know if Sue is. But both guys, I think, I'll be honest with you, I would like to see Sue go into Canton. Fletcher Cox, I'd like to see Sue go into Canton. I don't know if he'd get there. And keep in mind, it's a popularity contest too. But Cox, I think, will 100% be in Canton. Not first ballot, dude. Cox isn't going to be like an instant, because there's a log jam on players, and by the way, I want to do this every year where players that should be in the Pro Football Fame are not in the Pro Football Fame. But Cox, once he's eligible, he might have to wait a few years. Sue's one of those guys who belongs in the Pro Football Fame. Rub people the wrong way. And by the way, like Ricky Waters, I'd argue Ricky Waters belongs in the Hall of Fame. He'll probably never get in because of a lot of things that he did and said. But yeah. By the way, this is not a debate either. Funk says Cox had more talent around him in his whole career than Sue. Dude, not even debatable. 100% correct. And Sue was different. Like I said, you'll never see a player dominate a game more than you'll see that Big 12 championship game where he just destroyed Texas, like almost won that game all by himself. And to this day, people still think that Nebraska got screwed because Texas was a 12-0 team, which had a chance to advance to the national championship. So they do. Chris Jones is better than both, so you're Chris. I don't know. That's a tough one. I will say this. Chris Jones, I think, cemented going to Canton last year. And it's kind of neat because like right now, you got Mahomes, you have Kelsey, now you have Chris Jones. I mean, I know he's in Seattle now, but he had a couple of years in Kansas City. The Honey Badger, he'll be in Canton one day as well. At least I think he should be. But it's kind of nice, like out of the Chiefs players right now, I would say Chris Jones may not be a first ballot dude, but Kelsey and the way Mahomes, I think Mahomes could stop playing football right now if he wanted to and would go into Canton. I really believe that. But of course he's not going to. But when everything's said and done, Chris Jones, Kelsey, and Mahomes are going into Canton. The Chiefs have a couple of interior offensive linemen that have Canton possibilities as well. Hopefully some receivers, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But I can't believe I'm forgetting. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. The Chiefs offensive lineman that we got from the Patriots is a guy that could be a Hall of Famer right now. At least a candidate. I just can't believe I'm drawing this. Yeah, Cox did retire this year. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. And it's a fun thing. To be honest with you, Fletcher Cox and Sue, that's a debate I'd really want to go over in a little more detail. Do a little more research. I think Cox had more talent around him. Sue's more talented. I think Cox overall had a more productive career, but it's hard to say, man. I don't know how many years he has left in the tank because he ended his career with 100 sacks. He puts up 10 sacks for 3 more seasons. If you're talking about Chris Jones, then yeah. And I mean, the Chiefs gave him a lot of money this offseason, which I was kind of scared about because he's either 29 or 30 this offseason, and he's been in the NFL 10 years already. I think his best play is behind him, even though he's still one of the best defensive tackles in football. But I do think Chris Jones is going into Canton, and I think Mahomes and Kelsey are Canton bound. Yeah, I think he could too. But and Cox did retire. Super Bowl ring. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. Yeah. And this is I would love to be able to say that. I don't have to think about that one. That won't happen because Kelsey is going to play for another few years. I think Jason Kelsey may be a first ballot type of guy. He may not. It's hard to say. I think he should be, but we'll wait and see. But Jones was famous. Oh God, yeah. I remember watching that, and I was like, well, by the way, I loved Chris Jones. That Mississippi State team was a lot of fun to watch. They had Dak Prescott as their quarterback, Chris Jones, who was just dominant, and they had this like 5'6", 180-pound running back who ran like he was like 240. It was funny because like they had Dak Prescott, who was like 6'2", 225, 230. But when they needed short yardage, they used to have this 5'6", 180-pound running back, 190, something like that. I remember he ran like a 4.89 or 4.87 at the combine. I'm like, yeah, you can't play in the NFL. If you don't weigh 200 pounds, you run a 4.87 as a running back at the combine. You can't play in the NFL. But I will always say Mike Webster was the greatest center of all time. But yeah, he worked his way up. I would say Mike Webster, but Damani Dawson would be that argument. That's a tough one, man. That's a good one. That's a good one. I'm gonna look at some of my. I'm gonna get to this here. Kevin Glover. Oh God, James, welcome, brother. I haven't seen you in a while. That was a good one. Pouncey was a good one. I would say Webster over Pouncey. Dermontti Dawson is a good one. Guy for the Dolphins was really, really, really good for a long time. I can't believe I can't remember his name. Like Marino was like almost never sacked thanks to this dude. Pouncey was a good one. Pouncey was really good. Steelers had some really, 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 really good centers. Max Unger, really underrated. Max Unger is a very good center. Jim Otto, 00. Yes, very, very good player. Got to do a retro. Oh, God, you know what? It's been a while since we've done a retro show. I did one several years ago, and I remember thinking when I did the show, I did it a long time ago. You're a part of it. I remember that. And then I should have done like a 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s type of thing. But yes, it would be great to do a retro show. It would be better is if you joined more often, James. It is so good to see you, man. I'm really glad you're here. Kevin Mawai. Yes, he's in Pro Football Hall of Fame. Matter of fact, he was he was involved heavily with the Players Association. He was president for a while. That's a good one. Yeah, I know. That was a good idea, and I remember when I did it. Somebody suggested 60s, 70s might have been you, and I need to do that again. Yeah, I need to do another one. Yes. Please do. I've been kicked off of Facebook because they're horrible, but I'm still on Instagram and Twitter. I know you're on Instagram. If you're on Twitter, go ahead and do that. And by the way, I might do a retro show. I'm going to do the AFC next week, but then I may do a retro show. That's such a good idea. Because it was funny, I was doing MVPs, and I went back to that strike shortened season. Was it 81, or I think it was 83, and Mark Mosley won NFL MVP, a kicker, and I was like, that I'm not counting that. Wes Chandler, by the way, had over 1,000 yards in like 9 games. Like that should have been MVP, but Mawai, yeah, 83, yeah, he won. Yeah, so I was doing MVP. I did a dark horse MVP. And there's only twice that defensive player won is Lawrence Taylor and Alan Page. But I'm not counting 83 when Mosley won it because I still think it was bullshit. If I remember correctly, Fouts was in second with 2,600 passing yards. So, I mean, just take math, 2,600. Well, 9 times 3 is 27. So there's a chance that 16 times 3, 48, he may have hit 5,000. Which, remember, Marino had that 5,000-yard passing season in 84. If Fouts did it in 83, he 1,000% wins NFL MVP. Wes Chandler had over 1,000 yards that season. He had. I was looking it up. Chandler had, it was like 49 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, and They want to give MVP to a kicker. I'm sorry, I don't buy that. So when it comes to like the MVPs, and I was talking dark horses, and I said there's only 2 defensive players. I'm not counting that Mosley won because I think it's bullshit. So you're saying Winglet looks really good. I was laughing at this one. I did. I had a whole presentation. I got slides and everything. How to distract me is to start bringing up some random players from the 70s and 80s. That's the easiest way to distract me. All right. If you've noticed, I want to show you one thing I want to point out is that this is from February the 20th. And by the way, you can put action on this. All right. This is updated up until July 8th. So all these, the next time these bets are going to be altered is July 8th, so you can put all this action now. Now, this is the way they finished last year. You know, Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, and Giants in this order. But if you notice, by the way, for those of you that don't do sports betting, let me try to explain this. I tried doing a tutorial video, and I got some feedback. It was too complicated. But the negative means a loss, meaning that there's a favorite. So if you were to wager, you have to wager with negative 105 means that you have to wager $105 to win 100. Where the positive, as you can see here, Dallas at plus 150, you wager 100, you win 150. If you wager $100 on the New York Giants to win the NFC East, you will win $1,200 if the Giants win the East. So if you notice here, the Eagles are favored to win this division. The only division that doesn't have a negative is ironically, and Lions fans should be offended, is the NFC North, which I'll show you real quick. This is the only division. And by the way, if you look here, it's pretty close. And I'll go through this here. Slasher, an Eagles fan, says the Eagles are going to win the NFC East. And by the way, I'm going to release my NFC East video Tuesday, but there's a good chance it may be Wednesday. Doing the first video is always the most difficult. And by the way, I think it was Funk who had the idea of just doing NFC South first, which actually makes a lot of sense. But I'm going to go east to west. I'll probably stick with what I had planned. Originally, I was planning on working on it last week. I got called into work. I worked a little too much this previous week, so I didn't have a chance to get started on the video. That's why I'm saying there's a chance my NFC East video is going to come out Wednesday instead of Tuesday. The plan is to come out on Tuesday, but I still got some work to do. I apologize for the crudeness of the graphics. I wonder if I can blow this up here. If I hit this, it'll look better. Okay. I had to put this together pretty quickly, so I understand that it's kind of hard to read here. I wonder if I can eliminate the speaker notes. Actually, that looks better. So if you notice here from the previous slide, the negative 105, the Eagles, all the numbers correspond. And hopefully you guys get what I mean by correspond. The negative 105 means the Eagles are favored. So the Eagles over under wins is 10.5, Dallas at 10. Giants and Commanders are 6.5. And if you notice the plus 115 here for the Giants, what this means is that action is being bet heavily on the under. That's why the negative 145. And that's how these numbers change, is that they're normally put out at negative 110. But if you notice here, it's negative 115, which would indicate that there's not too much. If their numbers are the same here, this means that there's not that much action one way or another. Then once bets are made, that's how determined the numbers go up or down. So, for example, more actions being placed on Dallas over 10 than under. Lots of action on the Giants. And by the way, if the numbers get too bad because so much action being placed, would be the number will drop from 6 to 6.5 to 6, which is, by the way, what I predict. I think there's a good chance. And I've seen this happen where numbers free fall. I remember the Jets when they had the year where they won like 2 games or something. It went from like 6.5 to 4. And then they ended up winning like 2 games. I think the Giants, especially if there's an injury that happens, you could see something happening right now, for some reason or another, there's a lot of hype on the Washington Commanders at negative 130. As you see here, this is the only number that's even, the under. So I would say the biggest sleeper in the NFC would be the Falcons until they drifted. I really thought that they were, after they signed Cousins. But it's kind of funny. I had Keaton Talk Sports and Keys in here last week that brought up a lot of really good points on why you should draft Penix. And I get it, but I thought the Falcons easily, when drafting a pass rusher, vaulted themselves into the playoffs. Where they drafted Penix, now you got a lot of questions. So sleeper team is Vikings if McCarthy actually looks good. Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson is a good supporting cast, and they got Aaron Jones. So here's the deal. Sam Darnold is going to start, and I think Sam Darnold is actually going to play the whole season, and I think there's a very good chance. If you talk just coming out of college, just purely coming out of college, Darnold was the better rated prospect. No question. But Darnold in the NFL, as he's on team number 4, it's going to be Darnold. And I think the Vikings are a team that could really be a sleeper, because I think the defense is going to be good. They lose Danielle Hunter, but you got Dallas Turner. You got Jonathan Greenard, who had 12.5 sacks last year. He's not a stud either, but he's not the stud Daniel Hunter is, but he's a really good player. So you have some good things going on there. I just looked at that division, and I'm looking at Green Bay, and I'm looking at Detroit. Let's do this here. Let's I'll skip ahead, and I'll go to the NFC North here. And this is the only division where one of these is in a negative number. And if you're a Lions fan, you should kind of be insulted by this. But the Vikings is not getting a lot of love here. Not getting a lot of love here. But look who's in the chat. Denver Gator! Just popping in and say what's up to all the football nerds. What's up? Gotta bounce. Have a great show, Dan. Hey, Denver Gator, I'm glad you're here, man. I've been meaning to give you a shout. I'm sorry I haven't. So, a lot of people think the Bears. Yeah, you could have drafted Verse, who I think is going to be a stud with the Rams. You could have drafted Dallas Turner. You could have drafted Latu. I can't remember if it was you or Funk that just absolutely loved Latu. That's going to be really interesting. But yeah, I mean, and by the way, here's the win totals projected. And as you see here, there's heavy money on over the Packers winning 9.5, which makes sense. I actually really like Detroit here as well. The only issue is that 11's just such a big number. But more and more people are betting that. I don't think this is going to go up. But look at the Bears number at negative 165. This will definitely jump up to 9. I'll be honest with you. I would probably put number on the under. I think this will jump up to 9. And then once it jumps up to 9, we'll take a look. The Vikings, I actually like the over on the Vikings. I think 7's a great number. If you're taking over, I would probably take the under here and get good value. Negative 125, not the best number, but as you can see here, the general betting public, what did the Lions win last year? They won 12 games. They got better on paper. That's why I like 11. That's also why a lot of people are jumping in on Green Bay over 9.5. I also really like that quite a bit. So McCarthy wants for you to see it. Yeah, they're keeping him off, which I think is a really smart move. And I think because Darnold's going to be the starter and there is some talent in that team, if I was going to bet on any one of these teams, I would lean towards the Vikings over 7. So Seahawks are a sleeper team. Mike McDonald coming from Baltimore. Seahawks will be better. I don't think so. I'm a huge Pete Carroll guy. I think Pete Carroll, I think losing Carroll will hurt. And I also look at Seattle. This is a team that has a lot of offensive skill position talent, and you're bringing over the coach from University of Washington. I'm not a Geno Smith dude, so the Seahawks are a team I'm actually kind of lower on, but we'll get to them. But I'm doing the West last. But I want to see if I will tell you this, because Seattle lost a lot in free agency. If they fix the defense and the offense is a top 10 offense, that's scary. That's very scary. But I think because you're switching up the offense, and Geno Smith's saying all the right things right now, but that offense, if this, I look at Seattle as a team that's got to win a lot of shootouts, and there's some questions on the interior of the offensive line. I'm not a Geno Smith dude, and the defense. I mean, Pete Carroll was a former defensive coordinator, and he couldn't turn that defense around. Then you lose a bunch of starters, especially your top 3 linebackers. So I'm not high on Seattle. I'll be honest. I would have liked to see Mike McDonald go to a different team. I said this quite a bit, but Pete Carroll's a defensive guy. So usually you want to go like an offensive guy. So I'm going to say the same thing, but like Tennessee, I know Tennessee went with an offensive guy, but a guy like McDonald going to Tennessee with the talent they have on that front 7, I think would have been a better fit. But we'll find out. Donald will get benched. I really don't think so. I think Donald will play the whole year. I'm going back in time a little bit. Carson Palmer was the number 1 pick in the draft. Going old school here. Didn't play till the final week of the season. They had John Kitna, who played pretty well, and I could see a situation like that go a little more recent. Patrick Mahomes, 10th pick in the draft. Now Alex Smith's better than Darnold, but Alex Smith went to a couple Pro Bowls and was a pretty good quarterback, but Chiefs traded up quite a bit. They get up to 10 to draft Patrick Mahomes. He sat for a whole year. So that's kind of the way I see it. So I think Darnold will play the whole season. I really do. It's not like he's a top 10 pick. He was the 5th quarterback taken. He was the 11th pick, if I remember right. He was number 11. So yeah. You said Latu, and I thought either Latu or Dallas Turner on the Falcons makes them a heavy favorite. Which by the way, if you take a look, they are still a heavy favorite, but this number would have been at like negative 150 to 200 if they drafted either Latu or Dallas Turner. Latu on the Colts is kind of interesting, by the way. We're going to do the AFC. We're going to do the AFC next week. And then, God, the retro show sounds fantastic. God, I love the retro stuff. So what they did is So what they did is they traded back into the first round. They got the Houston Texans first round draft pick this year because they were hoping that the pick number 11 and pick number 23 plus a first round pick next year would be enough to get the quarterback the Patriots got, Drake May. And the reason why is that the Vikings offensive coordinator, I think it's Kevin O'Connell's the head coach, the offensive coordinator, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. He was Drake May's high school football coach. So the Vikings, I don't care what they say publicly, but here's the drill. The Vikings wanted Drake May. Patriots said no. The Commanders said no because, He's the consolation prize, but I think Darnold will play pretty well. I think he'll play pretty well. I think Darnold will play a lot better than people think. If you remember correctly, the Colts were the first team to draft the defensive player. It was the first 14 players in the draft were all offensive guys. The Falcons drafted a defensive player. They're easily the hands-on favorite. This is a big jump, by the way, -120 to +300. But I wouldn't rule out. Sam Darnold's in Minnesota, and he's going to start. He's going to be a starting quarterback. So I think the Cardinals could be solid. They had a really, really good draft. I really like what they did. So. Yeah, I thought it was 11, but it may have been 10. By the way, the Chiefs went from 27 to 10 to get Mahomes. So, but yeah. Who do I have a bad draft in the NFC? There's not too many teams that had a bad draft. I don't know if I'd call it bad because they didn't have a lot of picks, but the Saints, now they got Fuega, which is interesting because Fuega played right tackle, and Trevor Penning, who they drafted a couple of years ago, has been a bust so far. Right now, they're flip-flopping. Fuega will be the starting left tackle, and Penning will be the starting right tackle. And then they got Clint Kubiak, who was with the 49ers. He's taken over as new offensive coordinator. Keep in mind they had I'm drawing a blank on his name. But he was with Sean Payton. He was a longtime offensive coordinator with the Saints. So they're switching up schemes quite a bit. Now keep in mind they didn't have a lot of draft picks, but Fuega is a really, really good player. A little scary that, you're taking a guy who's never played left tackle before, and he's going to be your starter day one. Originally, when he was drafted, I didn't like when Dennis Allen said, well, we know he can play right tackle. We want to see what else he can do. Now they're in the training camp, and he's at left tackle, and your former left tackle that you drafted in the first round a couple of years ago is moving over to right. You could say that, but they also gave up a lot of draft picks for players. I liked Ricky Purcell, and I think it gave the Niners a B-. I like some of the moves that they did in the draft, but if you draft Purcell and you lose Brandon Ayuk, that's fine. Now, if you add Purcell and you still have to give Ayuk a bunch of money, I would have preferred fixing up the offensive line or drafting some defensive help, but I wouldn't give it a bad grade. My draft board is the notebooks I have. I don't have all my draft grades memorized. I didn't give the Niners a bad grade, but I wasn't a fan of them drafting another receiver. Now keep in mind if they lose Ayuk, then yeah, that it makes sense. Drawing a blank here who I gave a bad grade to, because I gave a lot of the NFC teams pretty good draft grades. I wasn't a real fan of Atlanta's draft at the time, but after listening to Keys and Keaton talk sports, when I had them on, they made some really good points about drafting Michael Penix. But you drafted Penix and then you traded up for, I think it was Ruhu or Ahamo, a defensive tackle who has all the ability to be very good, but he's a raw dude. So you're a team that had the ability to lock up the NFC South in 2024. Now, according to this, they're overwhelming favorite. But I by the way, if you're not aware, I absolutely love Michael Penix. I didn't understand you gave Cousin all that money. So, neither one of those teams I would say had a bad draft though. No, I didn't really think anybody had particularly a bad draft. It was kind of a hard draft to grade because I didn't give anybody an A plus or an A. This is the first year I've never done that, but I didn't give anybody a D either. I thought there was a lot of middle of the pack, with the draft, so it's kind of difficult. I wasn't really. Carolina's a team that drafted 3 players early, first, second, and fourth. Fourth's not really an early round pick, but players that have upside but are raw offensively. And then the third round pick is a linebacker who a lot of people had drafted later, but I actually really like that guy. So I like the Commanders draft, to tell you the truth. I like Jaden Daniels, who I think is the consolation prize. Again, same thing with Minnesota. I think Minnesota and Washington got consolation prizes, but keep in mind, I think Jaden Daniels can do a lot of the same things Caleb Williams can do. But the whole reason you brought in Cliff Kingsbury to be the offensive coordinator, because he was at USC last year, is because you thought you can get Caleb Williams. Of course, the Bears, I think, made a mistake, of course, in getting rid of Justin Fields, but we're going to see how that happens. Eagles had a solid, not a fan of Quentin. So I am a huge fan of Quentin Mitchell. He was my number 1 corner. I actually liked him more than I liked Terrion Arnold. The only problem I have is that Vic Fangio likes to play a lot of man. And you're coming from Toledo into the NFL. It's going to be a tough transition. But I was told at the Senior Bowl, like, he was just dominating guys, and he if you put like a Alabama helmet on him, he's probably a top 10 pick. But I am a fan of Quentin Mitchell. Here's the deal, though: both Quentin Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, these guys are going to have to produce fast. Both these guys are going to produce fast. I do want to show you this here. I thought this was a little surprising. Tampa Bay over 7.5. There's been action because I do like this number. A lot of action on over 9.5 for Atlanta. We're going to have to wait. The Saints are my sleeper team. Even though the Saints are my sleeper team, I wouldn't put action on them because I do have a lot of questions about that offensive line. However, if the offensive line's ironed out and Clint Kubiak, because if the Saints become a physical running team, which they should have been, it was Pete Carmichael. That's the offensive coordinator I was trying to think of. If the Saints become more of a physical running team and it works, that'll improve Derek Carr's play, and the defense is solid. So, I mean, there's some things. There's a lot of ifs, but I also really like Tampa Bay. I'll be honest, after the draft, I think Tampa Bay should be the favorite, not Atlanta, but I understand this number at plus 300. But they've won the last 3 divisions. Last 3 years, they've won the NFC South. So 49ers, overwhelming favorite. I like the Rams, and when I do the NFC West, I'm going to regurgitate this, so I'm kind of ruining a lot of my videos, but please check them out. Hopefully it'll be out Tuesday. It may be out Wednesday, where I break down the NFC East. When I break down the NFC West, I'm going to let you know right now, I like the Rams more than I like the 49ers. I think the 49ers lost a bit. I know you lost Aaron Donald, but you added the 2 Florida State guys. I'm drawing a blank on both those names. One of you guys had put it up in his verse. You got Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, and I think that both those guys are really going to help a defense that was not bad to begin with. But I could see the offense just being really, really good. Also like their draft. The Rams are my pick to win this division. And by the way, if you take a look here, the Rams 8.5. This is a great number. The Rams won 10 games last year, and they ended the season. was it 10 or 9? But anyway, I think it was 10. They ended the season 6-1. They ended hot. And yeah, I know you lose Aaron Donald, but during the Cooper Cup for a whole year, Puka Nagata, but probably butchering that name, if he ends up playing the same way, man. Under 11.5 is a big number. I would not touch, even though plus 115 is a solid number. Plus 115, again, if you don't do sports betting, plus 115 means you wager $100, you win 115. The negative 145 means you wager 145 to win 100. Naku, I got to practice that this off season. I practice that. But spoiler alert, when I do my picks videos, I'm going east to west, so I'm going to do the NFC West in 4 weeks from now. I will have the Rams as my pick. I don't think the 49ers will win 11.5, but I wouldn't bet negative 145. That's just a garbage number. By the way, it's not as bad as over 6.5 wins for the Cardinals at negative 175. But some of you guys think there's a very good chance that Arizona could be a sleeper. And also, by the way, so there is some love about Seattle. I'll be honest with you, I would pick Seattle under 7.5 because I think this is going to be a brutal division, and I think McDonald is going to the wrong place. Out of all the teams in the NFC, the two I like best are the Rams and the Cowboys. I like over 8.5 for the Rams. I like it a lot. Negative 145 is a trash number. I'm kind of expecting this number to go from 8.5 to 9. And there's a very good chance I would put action on that. Negative 125 for over 10 is fair. I like Dallas. I mean, I don't think Dallas really got significantly worse. They're a 12-win team. I don't think they got 2 games worse. However, I'm not completely sold on Dallas Cowboys. Do I think they can win more than 10 games? Yeah. But I like the Rams game significantly better. Dan, you and Luke G remind me of that Key and Peele skit, AAA Ron. It's funny if I... Oh, by the way, that AAA Ron was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Dude, Key and Peele, they didn't have, like, I wasn't a huge Key and Peele fan. I wasn't that big a fan. But they had a few skits that were just terrific. The Aaron was awesome. Do you remember the 3 pumps? Do you remember the 3 pumps? That skit was awesome. If you haven't seen it, I should probably find it and send it to you guys. So they're doing a football, and it's like you can do 2 pumps, but you can't do the third one. And then the dude's just right by his crotch. It's so funny. It's so funny. But yeah, they had their show wasn't like it wasn't something I watched all the time. It's not something I go back and watch. By the way, both of them are doing like serious movies today. I don't know which one is which, but one of them does acting. One of them made a movie. It got terrible reviews, but I wanted to see it anyway. But the AA Ron is just fantastic. By the way, I haven't reached out to Luke G in a while. I really want to get. I really want to try to either want to go on his show, but I definitely want him back on here. Hopefully before the season starts. I need to get a hold of Luke. I haven't talked to Luke in a long time. Really? The Gene over Mitchell. I had Quentin Mitchell as my corner number 1. The thing is with Cooper DeJean is he had some injuries. And I'm not sure his best position is corner. We're going to find out. I think Dallas declines. I don't think their all season was that terrible. I really don't. Tyler Guyton. Now, keep in mind when you have a starter at left tackle, it kind of scares me. But the upside on Tyler Guyton. By the way, Cooper Beebe, their third round pick, is not starting, but he's going to. He's going to. He's going to be the starter, and I think their offensive line could be top 5. Ezekiel Elliott's not the answer. He's not the answer, but I really think that they're going to get a running back. I'm kind of looking towards the former Vikings running back who was with the Jets last year. I think that he'll come. Dalvin Cook. I think Dalvin Cook Dallas will sign somebody. But defensively, you bring in Mike Zimmer. I don't think their offseason was awful. It's just really, really quiet. So, that's right. Jamal Williams did get busted for it. Yes. Yeah. The 3 pumps. Yeah, I forgot about Jamal Williams doing it. But yeah. I completely forgot about that. But the 3 pump skit in the AAA run was just hilarious. But it wasn't a show that I watched all the time. They had a lot of skits. It was like, But yeah. Is that what it was? I actually forgot about that. Yeah, and right now, so right now Alvin Kamara is holding out. And the good thing is Jamal Williams and Alvin Kamara actually get along great. But I'm thinking in this new offense, Jamal Williams might really explode. He's a guy that if I get a chance to do a fantasy football sleeper, Jamal Williams is a guy like take very late. And the reason why you want to do that is because Alvin Kamara, he's still holding out. Originally, I thought they worked out a deal. Turns out to be now he's holding out. Yeah, I got Luke's number, and he responds to me on Instagram. I sent him a link to this show. I tagged him in it, and he responded to the tag. But I haven't reached out to him recently to come on, but I need to, and he does that. Luke G will disappear and they'll come back. So. He's the greatest goal line back of all time. I don't know if I go that far, but all these guys are in camp. So here's the thing: all these guys are in camp. That's why it's not I don't think it's really going to be a problem. But out of these 2 teams, these are the 2 bets I like the most. But I love the Rams over 8.5 because I got the Rams winning that division. And so. I would not go that far, but I do think there is a very, very good possibility that Jamal Williams has a big year under Clint Kubiak's scheme because that's the thing about the Saints is that they have this really good defense and are trying to run this pass-heavy offense with a bad offensive line, and then they didn't have Mike Williams, so is that who it was? Mike Williams? That's not it. I'm drawing a blank. Keaton Talk Sports. No, it's a former Buckeye too, and I'm just drawing such a blank on that guy's name. Number 13. God. Yeah. Yeah, you got that Barry something there in Detroit. I can't think of his name. That I'm joking about, but yeah, I hope everybody caught that. This is a joke. But Jamal Williams, I really, on a serious note, though, I think that Jamal Williams and Alvin Kamara on this offense, because what the Saints are doing is doing a dramatic change because the defense is really good. It's just the offense was completely mismatched. They were trying to run that Drew Brees high-octane passing offense, But when you don't have a guy like Drew Brees, it's a little difficult. And I thought Derek Carr is a pretty good quarterback, but it's not really. Part of it was the offensive line. Part of it was just talent. Michael Thomas, that's what I was trying to think of. Michael Thomas, he could never recover. Chris Olave, even though he went over 1,000 yards, I think Olave is a guy that he's a number one with the Saints. But I always think Olave is a guy that would be better suited to be a number two wide receiver. Like you put Olave on a team like the Lions, for example, he would just be amazing. But we'll have to see what happens. The Saints are my sleeper NFC team because if they fix that offensive line and they're more of a physical smash mouth team, Derek Carr's got a good arm and Olave's a deep threat. I mean, so you can't really put 7 in the box. It used to be 8 in the box. I'm going to start saying that all the time, 7 in the box. Just like I'm going to stop saying 3-4-4-3, which I'll probably never do, even though I say I'm going to start using even and odd fronts. I say 4-3-3-4, and hopefully you get what I'm saying. So, but I still have Bet Online. Well, actually, I have to log back in, but I still have it pulled up. This is one thing I'm actually really big on is I've been watching a lot of election coverage and I've been blocking a lot of pro Biden people on Twitter. There was an insane amount of it's all the same thing. It's always comments that just don't even make sense. And Norma, by the way, I want you to know if you're a pro Biden guy, you're welcome on my channel. I'm not going to bash you. I'm not a leftist. It doesn't have to be everything I don't agree with. I just block, but I blocked a ton of people that are pro Biden supporters, and they were just saying stuff that just doesn't make a damn bit of sense. Olave's really good, but I don't think he's really a guy that should be the number one dude. I really think that he'd be better suited to be a number 2 guy. But if they have that nice running back combo and the offensive line's fixed, the defense is really good. The Saints are a team that can really, really scare people. So, it's funny because last year I thought the AFC was a lot better than the NFC. It's got some talent. I mean, if you're playing Madden, the team that I would put at the higher ranking would be the Eagles. A lot of question marks. Right, new offensive, new defensive coordinators. You're counting a lot on a pair of rookies, right? You're counting a lot on a pair of rookies, especially the way Vic Fangio wants to play defense. You're also losing Hassan Reddick, who had 17.5 sacks last year. That's tough. That's tough. I think Nolan Smith's going to have a monster year. Monster year. But I mean, it's hard to say. I think Dallas is dangerous. I think it was One Pride who said that he thought that they had a terrible offseason. I like what Dallas is doing, to be honest with you. You have Detroit, which was a 12-win team that went to the NFC Championship game. They're better on paper. The Rams, they're a dangerous team. They're a very dangerous team. They give the Lions a lot to handle. The 49ers, I mean, they took the Chiefs to overtime in the Super Bowl. I mean, the Bucs won a playoff game. Everybody's dismissing them, but they did win a playoff game. That's a team that got better on paper. 7.5 win team, according to BetUS, but still they got better on paper. The Falcons, their biggest problem is they didn't have a quarterback. They got a quarterback. The AFC is getting weaker is fair. Well, on paper, Buffalo got weaker. A lot of people think Miami's this great team. I don't see it. Houston's going to be interesting. I think Jacksonville's a scary team. Jacksonville, I think, is a very scary team. Remember, they were 7-3 last year. And, the defense is better. Trevor Lawrence takes that extra step. You got the Bengals, you got the Ravens, you got the Browns could be really good. And then, of course, you got Kansas City trying to make, history. You still got the best player in the NFL, Chris Jones. He's there, Hall of Famer. Taylor Swift's boyfriend still there. So I wasn't laughing at this comment. I was laughing. That, by the way, the ads are tailored towards you. So the YouTube algorithm, so that's kind of on you, but it is funny. I can't stand the political world. Last time I voted was for Ross Perot. I'm a Trump guy. I like Trump. I can't understand how people. Here's the deal. Here's my political. I understand if you don't like Trump. I get it. I 100% understand. What people I'm blocking are telling me that Biden's the greatest president of all time. The last 4 years have been absolutely great for the United States, and it's not. It's not. As soon as Trump left office, that's when Putin said, "Okay, now we got this invalid in office. I'm going to invade the Ukraine." And then what the United States did? They spent all the money that you could have solved homelessness in California, which is rampant. Yeah. But if I don't mind if you're not sold on Trump. Yeah, I don't mind this. I don't mind. How can you support Biden? That's the problem I have. So, but that's interesting. But yeah, I'm clapping too many. It's a comical statement, but I feel like I'm missing it. But oh God, Raven 76 Bmore. Yeah, Green Bay's a dangerous team. So in the NFC, you got. I really think that you have Green Bay and Detroit are two very dangerous teams. All right. I agree. I think it was you who said Minnesota's a scary team. I'm not sold on McDonald in Seattle, but let's say that defense gets turned around, the offense is top 10. That's a very scary team. I mean, I'm sold on the Rams, 49ers Super Bowl team. The only problem with the 49ers is that they have a lot of injuries and very little depth. So, and then in the East, Philly has as much talent as anybody, and Dallas is also a very dangerous team. I forgot about Green Bay. They bring in Josh Jacobs. Matter of fact, they're using him as a wide receiver last I saw, which by the way, I think it's like an experimental thing. But I never liked Trump. It goes back to when I was young and he was all over TV as the guy young men should want to be and young women want to be with. If I had to vote, it would be for. But if I had to vote, it'd be for Trump, and my personal values are much more conservative. I don't. Here's the thing. I have no problem if you're not a pro-Trump guy. The people I've been blocking on social media are these people that are pro Biden. If you said the last 4 years were the best 4 years in American history, and I saw that a lot, I just blocked you. One guy, not a political dude, he had this video where 2 years ago he had a Walmart grocery order and it was like $115. And then he hit reload and it's now $432. That's how bad inflation is over the last couple of years. So Reagan is the best in my lifetime. I don't really, it's funny. He helped us get to the moon and was a big. I don't know my history or politics enough, but the Cuban Missile Crisis was handled quite well, but I don't know enough about JFK, but I think Reagan's one of the best of all time. I'm a Trump guy though. Most of the pro-Biden people are actually anti-Trump people because exactly. I mean, there's a lot of CNN is not really news, and MSNBC that and The View, it's just kind of just garbage, and that's why. Again, I don't mind if you're a Biden guy. I don't mind if you're a Trump guy. I'm just here to talk football. You'll never be canceled off my channel because you have a difference of opinion with me. And that's something I remember you saying, is that isn't it great that two guys can talk sports without one guy resorting to name calling? And that's one thing that you can vote for Biden. You can still be a part of this community. You can be a Lions fan, still be part of this community. You can be a Raiders fan, Chargers fan. One of the guys I work with, I found out, is a big Dallas Cowboys fan, and he's like, I love getting these questions. He's like, Dan, which one, Dak Prescott or Tony Romo? And I'm just like, this is the best question I've ever been asked in my life. By the way, it's Tony Romo, but yeah. Yeah, and I liked the economics that Trump brought on board. So, yeah, I guess we're gonna talk politics. Well, it's funny. I was watching Como come out and say that the Trump court case would never went through if he was in office. He would use to blast Trump and his brother. The court case I thought was a little weird, but I don't know enough about the details in it one way or another, but the one thing is I don't think it should affect him running. I was worried that it may affect him running for president, and I'm not a Joe Biden dude, and and then Kamala Harris, I still remember where she was just one of Tupac's girls. That's all I'm going to ever consider her. And I think it's scary that if Biden goes down, we're going to have her running this country, which scares the shit out of me. Well, I have to admit, I'm a little disturbed that Pence isn't, and maybe you guys know better than me, but because I don't follow politics very closely, but I am a little concerned that Pence isn't even being considered for the vice presidency. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was really bad, man. It was really bad. Cloaked Shadow! I think I know who this is, but I don't recognize the person. So make sure if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. There's this person I work with who's a Chiefs fan, doesn't do too much. This is why I hate it. I think I know who this is. I think it's a friend of mine. So, but if you're not, make sure you hit that subscribe button, Cloaked Shadow. Even though I'm pretty sure I know who this is. Misdemeanors that moved up to Class E felonies plus the state of New York has 7 or 9 year statute of limitation. All Trump stuff was 20 years ago. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. I'm not that much into politics. I'm a Trump guy. I never understood why people supported Biden. And by the way, you can be a Biden supporter, and I won't block you on social media, but if you're telling me the last 4 years of this country, the best 4 years of this country, I probably will block you, just because the last 4 years have not been good. I mean, Biden has not done a good job. Let's just be honest about it. Kamala, yeah, just think here. I mean, look at the way you have to have a decent vice president, and even though he's a corporate politician, I thought Pence would have been competent as president. Kamala Harris, I'm scared of. So my favorite part of the political world right now is Tom McDonald dude songs. I don't know who that is. Funk, are you on social media? Because if you are, send me that link because I don't know who that is. Pride, her nickname is. I will be in Dallas rocking my Ravens jersey at that game. Which game? Ravens 7. By the way, Ravens 76 be more. If you're not already following me on social media, do follow me on social media and send me a shot. But by the way, the purple and black is just fantastic. Oh God. I always say all questions answered, anything goes, but we went from talking about the NFC to talking politics, but that's how things are. And by the way, I do encourage you to vote, whether you vote for Biden or you vote for Trump. I encourage you to do so, but it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is or opinion. You're always welcome on this show, and you're always welcome to express any and all opinions. That's what I'm here for. So, but next week I'm going to go over to AFC. The retro show sounds fantastic. I might have to do a retro show. That just sounds fantastic. Tom McDonald, one song you'll probably like, So Stupid. Yeah. It does. It does. It's funny. I say the same thing about the Olympics. It's kind of funny. Like, I actually don't go out of my way to watch the Olympics, but like when they're on, it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. I used to be, of course, when the Dream Team came out, that was kind of cool. But to be honest with you, I really don't care that much about the Olympics. But yeah, when it comes up, it's kind of cool. But yeah, kind of. Tom McDonald. I'll look him up. Guys, before I end the show, final thoughts, final questions, statements, anything you want to go over before I end things here. But I'm going to wrap things up. So, I think I know who these guys are. I think they're buddies of mine. But if you're not who I think you are, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I appreciate it. Next week, I'm going to go over to AFC. I'm going to try to get the graphics to be a little sharper for next week's video. Ideally, I'll have my NFC East breakdown by Tuesday. There is a chance it will be postponed till Wednesday. This week, I'm going to do NFC East. Next week will be AFC East. I was planning on doing North, but I might do the South. That was a good idea, Funk. I'd get the NFC South out of the way. So, yeah, Phelps, the Dream Team, Phelps, with the 100-meter dash. There's somebody, I'm drawing a complete blank, but was just dominant besides Carl Lewis. I think it was Michael Johnson. Was setting records in 100 and 200. So, but anyway, that's all I got. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you all had a safe and wonderful, happy 4th of July. So, you'll be in doubt. That's right. Second week of season. Week 1 is, no, that's not 9/22. It's week 3. Yeah, by the way, you're scheduled, the Ravens schedule the first 10 weeks of the season's just brutal. Just brutal. Cowboys fans are a little rambunctious. If you blow the shit out of them, you may have some problems if you're allowed. But Dallas kind of weird city. But by the way, Dallas is a great city. I've been to Dallas several times. Love Dallas. Actually, Fort Worth, Fort Worth kind of together. But I hung out in Fort Worth at some great times in Fort Worth. If you haven't been to Dallas before, you're really going to enjoy it. You're really going to hang out more in Fort Worth. Dallas traffic is terrible. Dallas traffic is terrible. People I will check that out. I did a retro show several years ago, and I wish I would have done it differently as I was doing it. But in a couple of weeks, I might have to do a retro show. Follow me on social media if you haven't already. And on that note, I'm going to end the show. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a great Friday. Again, I hope you guys had a wonderful 4th of July, and I hope to see you all back again next Friday.